Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
This is Jayson William Allen from Poetry of the Dead, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather. As always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to have Mr. Jayson William Allen. He has been a professional musician for 20 years, and he hails from Louisville, Kentucky. Jayson has been the founder and frontman of his solo project, his band Poetry of the Dead, and as Embers burn. Jayson has been successful with independent hard rock and heavy metal bands. During this time, he has released 8 albums and is currently working on 2 more that are expected to be released in 2019, which maybe the end of this year. We're going to be talking about all that, but under ARC Music Group. He has also been a working actor since 2011 with co-starring and supporting acting roles in local films, as well as playing 2 main characters in a theatrical production, Reefer Madness the Musical. He has worked behind the scenes as crew in film production, sound design, audio, score writing, and grip work as well. Jayson dabbles in many different forms of creative art, such as photography, painting, and digital design, mixing everything together in what he calls the broken arts. So, Jayson, how's it going, and welcome to the show.
It's going okay, man. How are you?
Doing awesome. So let's jump right into this. Great. How's it been working with Ron and Chaotic Cat Entertainment so far for you? Man, I love Ron.
He's probably one of the greatest human beings that I've ever met in my life. And when he asked me to come aboard and you know, work together and him helping me out and everything, honestly, it just made me extraordinarily happy. I've known Ron for a couple of years, just like through the con industry and stuff like that. And a genuine guy, and he treats people with respect, and he's just got a genuine love for humanity. And it's a hard quality to find these days for someone that's just out for other people and wants to help other people. And right. I respect him and appreciate him a lot.
That's exactly right. I cannot agree anymore with that statement. That's totally exact, my friend, because I have been through that myself.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people like that I've worked with, because I've been doing this for about 20 years, and I've, you know, had people that screwed me over, had people that stabbed me in the back trying to use me and stuff like that. And Ron, man, is just like, he's out for the little guy, and he's out for like just helping people. And, you know, he's not one of those people that's trying to just make something off of you. He wants to see you succeed. So, and that's a hard quality to find.
That's very true. Very, very true. So you're working on a new album for Poetry of the Dead and recording a 3-album trilogy for your solo project. So you've got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm constantly working. I'm in the studio like 3 to 4 days a week. So
let's talk about this a little bit. The Poetry of the Dead. What's impressed or excited you so far the most about working on it or writing anything about it? If anything possible, is there anything sticking out about that album specifically? Then we'll get into your trilogy.
Oh, the new album. Well, it's back and forth whether I keep going in the hard rock and metal genre. Poetry had taken a hiatus for about 3 or 4 years. And our drummer had a kid. He went off to raise his child for a little while, which is very admirable. So the band kind of took a break. We decided to get back together about a year ago. And we were like, all right, well, if this is going to be it, let's do one more album. Let's do the best album we possibly can. And we're calling it the grand finale. And it's going to be a mixture of heavy metal and hard rock. It's going to be a mixture of like horror and Halloween-based songs, along with the gothic aspect that we've incorporated over the years too. So it's a big, huge mixture of every influence that we could possibly put in there, from Marilyn Manson to Korn to Slipknot to Pantera, Wednesday 13, stuff like that. All of our influencers kind of getting dumped into this one album. It's still going to have that Poetry of the Dead sound, because we are a very original band. We don't sit there and say that we sound like this band or we sound like this band. We try to stay away from that. But we wanted to really just, if this was going to be our last thing, our last heavy album that we put out, then we were going to go balls to the wall and don't hold back on anything. So I'm at the songs that we have written at the moment are some of the best work that I have ever done personally.
This is going to be kind of a little crazy, guys, because he's got this new album that he's working on, plus he's got his trilogy stuff with his solo project. So we're going to do a little bit of the album right now that he's working on, then when we get back to the trilogy, because I think this is cool. So how much is completed so far on the new album for Poetry of the Dead? Do you have a lot of it completed right now?
We're in the writing process at the moment. We've been getting back out there playing shows and doing all that. And, as it is with a band, when you've taken a break for so long, you sit there and, you got to knock the rust off and get back into it and get back into the groove of things. So, we have a 20-song set list, because our shows, we play 2-hour-long straight sets. And so we had to work that up. We have a bunch of theatrics on stage and a big stage show and stuff like that. So with the writing process, we're about 8 to 10 songs in, roughly. We plan on going into the studio later this year and starting production on that album. And I usually take a long time with my albums. I'm not like a lot of people that go in just for a week or two and record an album and then release it. I take usually a year, if not more. I don't release anything until it's ready to be released. I learned that the hard way with all the years of doing music, that don't release something you're not happy with, because whether anybody listens to it or not, or whether you're a big rock star or you're just an independent artist, you need to be happy with your own art yourself. And, so it's a slower process with us to do everything, but it works out in the end, because we're a very big production band. I put full orchestras and a lot of keyboard work behind our music just to give it that little extra oomph, I guess you would say. And, so the band will go in, we'll track all the instruments, I'll go in and do all my vocals, and then I set with my producer, and we do pretty much a full-blown orchestra with keyboard. So it should be out. I'm hoping to get it out in 2020. That is my goal.
And another thing, too, if you can't stand behind your own music, how are we supposed to stand behind it? You know what I'm saying? And I like that you take time to put it out.
Exactly. People are going to buy this album, or they're going to download this album, and I don't want to put out something bad. I try to keep our prices really low, because I don't do this for the money. The entertainment industry as it is today is, mediocre at best. You can't really expect to make a living off of art. I know a lot of people do, and a lot of people, that's their livelihood. I try to at least make enough to let the art fund itself and recoup the money that I invest in it and stuff like that. With ARC Music Group, that's who I record with in an American recording company, the studio. John Mattingly's my producer, and he takes the time with me a lot, and he actually dives into the music himself, and he plays instruments on there. He will add percussion in where need be, guitar parts where need be, keyboards and all that stuff. And I worked with him on the past three Poetry of the Dead albums, and it's just I've found he's like my musical soulmate. We sit there and we dive really deep in, and we'll take weeks on just one song, just to get it perfect, because when people download this, if people buy this album, I want them to enjoy this album just as much I enjoy making it. So I really hope that shines through. These are my children, so I hope that shines through to those people, and they know how much I love it, and I hope that they enjoy it as well.
Let's talk about this 3-album trilogy for your solo project. What are you working on with it right now, possibly? Are you just starting out with the first CD, trilogy part of it, or what's going on with it so far?
We dove in with 40 songs, we track them all together. They're all tracked. I'm scoring it, doing film scoring basically behind it and soundscaping. It's basically like a 3-part movie. There is a storyline to it, and I'm big into I collect vinyls for like film and stuff like that, and I'm big into soundtracks and stuff, and I like to incorporate that into my music. I'm a huge Danny Elfman fan, John Carpenter, pretty much anything that's very orchestratic and creepy sounding. And I like to incorporate that kind of stuff into my music. And with this, it's way less. There's very little electric guitar in there. And it's basically, I started out with like an acoustic guitar, and then I turned around and we incorporated beats, drums, all kinds of orchestratic stuff, sound effects, everything. I mean, we have one song in there now that's got like footsteps in it, but the footsteps are going to the beat of the song. So it sounds like somebody crunching through leaves on the breakdown of the song. So it really kind of, I wanted to paint a picture in people's minds as they listen to it. So I want them to kind of like create a movie in their head, if that makes any sense.
Now, is this going to be the way from here on out that you're wanting to do, since you're not going to be doing Poetry of the Dead anymore? Is this what you're wanting to do from here on out as far as your solo project, or you're going to be doing other things differently also?
I'm not going to say that poetry is going to go away. It's just, this is a chance to see things through and do something bigger. We may do another album, but with the solo thing, yeah, I'm very focused on both bands, both projects. Poetry is my heart and soul, and if we can keep it together and keep going till I'm 60 years old, then we'll keep going till we're 60 years old. We'll be on stage with walkers and everything. I will totally do it. But the guys in my band, I love them. They're my brothers, and if they want to keep going, then we will keep going. That's one of those things that's completely up to those guys. But as for my solo thing, it's just something that it's basically like another outlet. Like, everybody has different taste in music and musical influences and stuff like that. And this is kind of stuff that, like, they're very much into what poetry does and their styles of music. I'm into some abstract, off the wall stuff. So I really wanted to just be very experimental with my solo stuff. And, it's just another outlet. I feel like when like musicians do solo projects or do other projects, it's actually a really good thing, because it helps to not create tension within the band. They get to have that outlet to be a creative artist. And then when you come together as a band, you work together as a band. And I feel like the solo projects and stuff like that help to exercise out all the other stuff that you love, so you don't have the creative differences problem and bands break up and stuff. So, it basically, with poetry, it just depends on where everybody's life is and if everybody wants to keep going. And I will damn sure keep going with poetry, because, that's my baby.
I noticed this about your videos, and I truly like this. When you're shooting your videos and telling that story in it, how crucial is it to have that theatrical element in it, or like a short film possibly, because you go all the way out, and I dig it, man.
Man, I always tell people whenever we shoot a new video, because it is a music video per se, but I always go into it with my director, Herschel Zahn of Renegade Arts. Him and the team at Creative Motion Studios here in Louisville, they go all out for me, and they really work hard for me, and I love them to death for it. We're a film family. We work on films together. We produce films together, and sometimes, I'll just jump on and be a grip or help out with lighting or, just whatever I can do, because we're all good friends. And they go above and beyond. So usually I come to Herschel with a concept, and I'm like, hey, I want to do something like this. And he's a filmmaker. He's not, well, now at this point he is a video director, but I wanted to go to a filmmaker because I wanted all my videos to be movies. So we really focus on the movie aspect of everything. And that's usually first and foremost. And then we throw the band performances in there or the musical performances in there. But the main concept and the main thought process is, let's shoot a really good movie. And I feel like we've achieved that. Like with Lost in Time, we did our version of Alice in Wonderland. That's like with our video Blame, where there's a sword fight scene. We did the whole soundscaping where you hear the swords clashing together and stuff, and we left that into the video because I wanted that element of film in there. And I'm a huge film fanatic, and I mean, I'm a huge horror fanatic, but I love film in general. So I really want to keep going with that. A lot of people have said, are you ever going to shoot, a regular music video? I was like, no. I stay in competition with myself and nobody else. I don't try to compete with any other bands or try to do better than anybody else. I try to do better than myself. And my film family has the same thought process. So it's always trying to top the last thing that we did. So right now at this point, it's how big can we go? How much can we do? And this new video that we're getting ready to release for the Poetry of the Dead song Mourn, we literally got like this 1930s old broken down theater here in Louisville, Kentucky. And we shot it there. And this place still has the old, like, 2 film projectors in there. Like, they're gold, they're real big. There's 2 of them because they only did film like 15 minutes apart. So, and I walk in, when we're looking at the location, I walk into this room and I'm like, and there's a toilet in there. There's a little small room with a toilet. And I'm like, what's that for? Oh, because the projector guy couldn't leave because he had to switch the films around. So that's how authentic, like, the locations are. And my friends in film and stuff, they go all out, man. They scout locations. They find the perfect locations. We go there, we shoot. And a lot of my aspects for film and for my videos is I like to use historical places that I can find because I like the old look. But we have a ballerina in there that's doing an amazing dance, and but it's still got that horror element. So, and it comes out like in probably about 2 to 3 weeks, I think it comes out. So it'll be out in September.
Is it hard to choose between the current set of songs that you can talk about? Which one would be the first single that you want to release or push first? I know they have to be a ton of these songs that you're trying to go back and forth about, but what was the, I guess, hands down for it to be Mourn for you guys?
For it to be Mourn, it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written, and the reason why, and it's I don't like saying this because it's kind of hypocritical for me to say because of a previous statement that I just made. My favorite all-time album ever, and it shocks people when I tell them this, is Marilyn Manson's Mechanical Animals. To me, it's a work of art. It's a masterpiece. It's like his Dark Side of the Moon. And everybody can disagree with me, and that's fine. But I love that album. And that song has a lot of guitar elements in it that remind me of that album. So that's kind of why we picked that song to put out on this video. Because with Manson being one of my biggest influences, and that album being such a big influence to me, I feel like it was just a really beautiful song. And it's chaotic and beautiful at the same time. And the lyrical content is very personal to me. And that's a lot about, like, what I write. All my songs are about my life. Everything that I write about, I've experienced. So it's nothing that's made up or anything. And but with that song, it was just the right timing, right location, and just right concept. Like, I kind of came up with the concept as I want to do something that's, we've done the horror stuff, we've done a lot of blood, we've done a lot of really cool stuff like that. And Herschel looked at me and he was like, I want to do something pretty, dark, horror-based, but pretty. And I threw out that song, and I was like, let's do one for Mourn. And he heard it, he loved it, and I came up with the concept and shot it to him. And then he put in all of his ideas that he wanted to do, and we shot it. I mean, it only took us 2 days to shoot, but they were really long days. Like, we have a really big crew that works on our videos, which is, we don't do I can't say we don't. Herschel doesn't run with small crews. I mean, we have catering, we have grips, we have lighting, we have a DP, we have a director, there's a producer on set, makeup artists come in and do all the makeup and stuff like that. So it's actually a really big film production.
I know you just mentioned Mourn, but are there any other songs standing out more to you than any right now possibly on the album that you can talk about? I know these are like your children, and I know these change every time. But do you have any others possibly right now, Jayson, that stick out for you?
Yeah, there's a song that I actually didn't write the guitar part to. I only wrote the lyrics to, and the band kind of wrote the rest, and it's a song called Brand New Nightmare. And it is downright just heavy Southern metal. And we don't have I think we've done like kind of the Southern thing like once before on an album, but this one is just Black Label Society influenced, raw, in your face metal. And I absolutely love performing it. We performed it out at the past couple shows. The crowd seems to really like it. And it's really cool because it has that basis. But I took the approach, even though the lyrics are meaningful to me, in the writing and in the wording, it's kind of got part of it kind of has like a Hellraiser feel to it.
Oh, nice.
And then part of it has like a Nightmare on Elm Street feel to it. So like the first verse is kind of Nightmare on Elm Street-ish. Mm-hmm. And then the second verse is kind of Hellraiser-ish. So it kind of plays along in those lines, like, one of the lines in the song in the second verse is an endless world of pleasure and pain. Oh. And I'm here to take all your fears away. So, it's a very good song, and it's very different for us. It's just, like I said, it doesn't have the violins and all the sound effects in it. It's just really just balls to the wall heavy. So, and that's fun because I haven't really done, except for in my 20s, in other bands that I've been in, I haven't really done just something really heavy. And it was good to get back to that, and it was good to see that I still had the screams and the stamina in my voice to be able to still do that. So I'm very proud of that one.
I love to still see bands being influenced by the old school horror films out there, especially like Hellraiser and Nightmare on Elm Street, Pumpkinhead, things like that. I absolutely love it, man. So that's cool. I'm glad you threw a little homage in there, I guess, if that makes sense.
I'm a horror fanatic, man. I'm a nerd. Like I collect horror figures and get horror autographs, and I have horror movie posters all over my walls, autographed, and any type of horror memorabilia or any like horror con I can go to, man, I jump right on. I think I go to about 7 or 8 horror cons a year, and I don't even have to meet a celebrity, man. I just love the atmosphere, and I love being around people that love horror movies.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And to correct me wrong, I mean, Days of the Dead's in Louisville right now. Is that correct? Am I right?
Yep, I'm going tomorrow. I'll be
go.
hanging out there all day, and I'll probably be there Sunday too. So, I'm really excited about the Phantasm reunion and the Night of the Living Dead reunion that they got going on there. And Elvira's going to be there, and I've met her like 4 times, and I'll probably still get something signed because I absolutely love her. She was my woman back in the day growing up. So
I understand that completely. Working with Don producing your albums, does he get something out of you guys that maybe somebody else would not have gotten possibly?
John makes me work. He's not a producer or an engineer that he knows music. He studied music. He went to school for music. I mean, he's not just some guy that knows Pro Tools and how to hit buttons and be an engineer. He really knows how to dive in and dissect a song. And he'll make me do a word over and over and over and over. And we may only complete that one word until my voice gives out. And he knows what I can do. He's worked with me so long. He knows what I can do. And he also knows what I'm trying to capture at this point. And he will drill me until it's perfect. And I call it the John test. If it doesn't pass the John test, then it's not good enough. And I really feel like if it wasn't for, he's like the other member of the band, He knows how to do it. He knows how to make me comfortable. I mean, it may be just a thing of dimming the lights in the studio just to create ambience, just to create a feel. Or, he'll push me until, like, I'm frustrated. And then if I'm frustrated, I'm going to get a little bit more intense with things. So he knows how to work with me and work with the band. I mean, he's worked with, like, the lead guitar player and sat there and went note for note on leads to perfect leads. So I can't say enough good things about ARC Music Group. I've been working with John for many years now, and he will remix a song, remaster a song, do whatever it takes to get the song perfect, because he's not in it. He's kind of like Ron. You know, he's not really in it to make a bunch of money off of anybody. He's in it to put out a really good product. And his name's going on that product, so he wants it to sound really good too. So, and I love people because that do that, because that's their art, that's their passion. And when you find people that are passionate about their work, then you know you have the right connection, and those are the people that you need to work with.
And I keep telling people that every time I do an interview with anybody, it's like a musician that's getting ready to go out onto the stage. I get chill bumps. I honestly do. It resonates with me just like that. So this is my passion. This is my sanctuary, as I call it, my safe haven. So,
and that's what life means. You find what you enjoy, you find what you love, and you find what you're good at, and you run with it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter about the money, and it doesn't matter about the fame or anything like that. It matters if you're enjoying it. You only get one life, and you have to do the best you can to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy your life, then you're wasting it.
I agree 1,000%, man. What do you hope, Jayson, everyone takes away from your music, or message you hope they hear while listening to it, man? What do you hope they get from it?
I hope it helps people. That's the main thing. I've dealt with depression my whole life. I have watched my whole family pass away. A lot of loss in my life, a lot of pain. And if anything that I write or anything that I put out there helps anyone in any way, whether it's get through a bad day or, helps with the passing of a loved one or a breakup or any type of heartache or anything that they're going through in their life, that is the most important thing for me. And honestly, that's why I keep going. I really, really want to help people with what I do. And I feel like it's a little bit of a contribution to humanity, to try to just help people. I mean, that's what music is to me. Music has gotten me through the hardest parts of my life, and it's what I love doing and my passion, and I want to extend that in some way. So when people come out to shows, I want to make sure that they have a good time. I always tell people, you listen to our albums and you think on the lyrics and everything, and listen to it driving down the road, and the songs might make you think, because we get really deep with lyrics. But at shows, we're a party and we have a good time, and I want people to have a good time. We have people out there moshing, we have people out there dancing, kick back a couple of beers and just throw down with us and enjoy life. And that's pretty much what the band's all about, man. Live, we're into having a good time, and then on the albums, we're into just opening up everything in the lyrics and in the songs and in the music is just an open book. And I want to let people into my life and basically tell them you're not alone.
I know you've been doing this for over 20 years, but do you see yourself still musically growing from where it started? Or has it just been more of a personal growth for everyone that's been involved with you and your bands possibly?
Oh, I'm growing every moment. Yeah. Every moment that we practice, there's always room for improvement with everything. The one thing that a musician should never do is say that they've learned everything, or they're great, or they're good. It's still, no matter what people tell me or anything, to me, I'm still a mediocre musician. I'm still learning. And I learn every time I write a new song or I write a new riff, or there's so many different styles of music to play. Like, I'm a huge blues fanatic and 80s hair metal fanatic. And so I dabble in that with a lot of my playing, and also, with playing metal. So when you dive into other genres of music and stuff, there's always room for improvement, and there's always stuff to learn. You will never be the best. Don't strive to be the best. Always strive to be the best you. But a musician, an actor, an artist, anybody that's in the performing arts and the visual arts, anything, needs to always be trying to perfect their craft, but have the knowledge to know that you will never be perfect. Because if you're perfect, then you have no room for growth. And if you have that mentality, you will never grow as an artist.
Yep, I agree with that 1,000%, dude. What do you bring to the table for music that's not out there as of right now? I know no one's reinventing it, but what are you adding to that musical wheel? I'll get it out in a minute.
Musical wheel. In my opinion, everything out there is a carbon copy of something else, and it's basically what the record industry has done. They know this sells, so they put this out, and they've done it for many, many years. since the 90s. You know, this sells, so we're going to put out a bunch of bands like this. This sells, so we're going to put out a bunch of bands like this. So at this point, I mean, half the time they're not even giving bands a record deal anymore. They're just forming bands from other bands and putting them out there and making these mega groups. And that's cool. And people like them. And that's great if you like that. But everything just sounds the same to me. It's like how country music has went basically pop. They don't even use real drummers pretty much anymore. It's all like beat and snap tracks and stuff like that. And everything's just getting really stale. They're really taking the human elements out of music. And I feel, and what I strive to make poetry, even though it is a big, huge melting pot of all of our different influences, because that's, I mean, every musician's like that. We all throw all of our influences in. But I try to make us as original as possible. Being a very original band, I know a lot of bands say that, but we don't really go into anything going, we want to write a song like this. If it comes out sounding like something, that's fine. But we really go into it going, let's write something pretty. Let's write something heavy. Let's write something creepy. That's about the gist of how we describe something when we start writing it. And usually, which is really weird for bands, is most of our music starts out with the lyrics. I'll write the lyrics to a melody line, and then I'll grab a guitar, and it comes in like the weirdest parts of my life. Like I could be working all day, and I'll have to write a song in my head and then get home and jot it all down. And so we kind of write everything backwards. But the one thing I've always wanted to do with poetry and anything that I do musically is be as original as possible and never ever strive to just get a record deal. We're not trying to get some big, huge record deal or anything. I enjoy staying independent because once you sign like a record label deal, I mean, I can't sign my life away. Those are my songs. And once you sign like a record deal, I mean, they own you and they own your songs.
Yep.
And I kind of want to keep my art. And at this day and age, it's just too easy to promote yourself, and you really don't need the record industry anymore.
When you're coming into the recording studio, do you like to do anything differently during the writing and recording process? I mean, I know that's two different things, but maybe to help keep your mind fresh and open, to not get bored, not get stale. Do you like to do anything that helps you possibly, Jayson?
Yeah. It's really weird, and it goes back to the videos. Usually for every song, I write a video. So every song I've ever written, I have a video or a movie concept to it. And it kind of really helps out a lot because, like, there's probably pictures of it, or probably even some videos that people have, that I'm very big on, like, hand motions and stuff like that. And that comes from, like, theater and acting and stuff. And I kind of play it out in my head when I'm recording the songs vocally. And even guitar-wise, when I play guitar or I sit there and compose everything, I'm very visual with everything that I do. So in my head, I'm playing out this movie or this video in my head, and I'm kind of acting it out when I'm recording whatever instrument I'm working with at the time or doing vocals. So, and that really helps me actually. It helps me not get bored with it. It helps me kind of bring it more to life and give more, I guess for a lack of a better term, epicness to it. You know, I go all out, and I think it really shows within our music, and that's kind of what I always kind of describe to everybody's like, well, what kind of music are you? And I'm like, epic. That's about it, you know. I mean, because we do the whole soundscaping and the movie score behind everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're not really metal, and we're not really rock. I mean, I think on the Autumn Masquerade album, which we released two years ago, we have a country song on there. Just because I was like, I wonder if I can write a country song. So I did, and it's called Finish Line. And so that's another thing that really helps me not get bored with everything is we don't really sit there and try to sound like one genre of music. Most bands are being like, we're going to be a metal band or we're going to be a rock band. I'm like, let's just be a band, and let's just write music. And that's what we've always done. So, yeah, I have a lot of fun in the studio, man. I have a lot. My favorite two things to do in the world is record music and music production and work on movies. What
about local support? How much local support do you get, if any, in Louisville?
Oh, the local scene here is amazing, and it always has been. smaller than what it used to be. But back in the early 2000s and stuff, we were like in Rolling Stones magazine as one of the top 10 local scenes in the United States. And we were kind of getting talked about as the next Seattle, and bands started getting picked up out of here and getting record deals. And but the scene here now, it's a little bit smaller, you know, because even with big rock concerts and stuff like that, I mean, people just don't go out anymore. You know, they watch it online or they're always on their phone. And but the local scene here, we played a show a couple of weeks ago, I think. It's sold out, packed place. I don't even know how many people were there. It was wall to wall people. Everybody was into it, and it was like a really hot day in the summer. We played at 11:30 at night, and it had to be about 110 degrees in the venue, and no one left. They stayed for a full 2 hours. They rocked out with us. Everybody was dripping sweat. And it was, honestly, I have to say, one of my top 5 favorite shows that I've ever done in my life, because the crowd was just so into it. The band was on fire. And anytime that we have a show, man, the local support, the fans and stuff like that, man, they come out and they enjoy themselves. They buy the merch. They love the music. They know the words to the songs and stuff like that. So here in Louisville, man, and kind of regional over in Indiana and stuff like that, we get a lot of really good support.
We're living in the digital era now of recording albums to get them out quicker. And now we got social media to reach out to more people. Do you like this that we're in right now, especially the social media side, to reach out to more people to let them hear of your music now? I
love it. It's an outlet that we didn't have when I first started out. If we would have had, I'm not a social media fan at all. I think it's like, in all reality, I feel like social media is the main thing that is overly dividing everything. But I think it's pretty evil. But as for media content for art in general, music, film, everything, I think it's amazing. I think it's wonderful. You know, you have your download sites and you have all this stuff. But, I mean, me now, I can put my music videos out there for the whole world to see on YouTube. I can put my music on multiple formats, from SoundCloud to Spotify, Pandora, all that stuff. And then everything pretty much links up to Facebook at this point. So and I like interacting with the people that enjoy what I do. So I like to be personable with them and have conversations. So I really feel like social media itself for art in general and all formats of entertainment is probably one of the greatest things that was ever invented. I just feel like some people just use it for not so good things.
Yeah. So what made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you, man, that said, yeah, that's what I want to do?
This is going to be another thing that blows people's minds. All right. So my mom, when I was in 3rd grade, took me to my first concert back in, it may have been 1990 something, early. And anyway, she, first off, like, I remember this when I was a little bitty kid, like in 1st grade. I was in Florida, and we were driving down the road, and my mom and dad, and a Poison song came on, and I loved it. And my mom took me to like a record store in Florida and bought me the 2 albums that they had out at the time.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, Flesh and Blood came out, and they played here in Louisville. And my mom took me to that concert, and I saw, it was Warrant and Poison. And I saw Poison play, man, and I saw Brett, and Brett became like one of my hugest influences. And from then I was just hooked. I was like, that's what I want to do with my life. You know, I want to perform. I want to do music. And from 3rd grade on, I took guitar lessons. I really sucked at guitar lessons. I never really even got good at music until like after I quit trying to learn it, and I studied it on my own. And so, yeah, that was literally the spark. I was in 3rd grade, man, and I was just like, I love this, and that's what I want to do. And from then, that moment, I was hooked.
Is there a band on the bucket list that you would like to tour with, or maybe even do an old school album split with, possibly?
Somebody that would be on my bucket list. I've played with a lot of really cool national acts. One of my favorite bands, Lacuna Coil, we got to play with those guys. Dope. I've opened up for Phil from Pantera. I think it was Super Joint Ritual. I have to say Wednesday 13.
Oh, that's a good
I would
one.
really like to play a show with Wednesday 13, because honestly, I mean, as it comes to like anything that bridges, hard rock and heavy metal and horror, my favorite things, in the world, it's that guy. So I would definitely love to play a show at least with him.
Do you have a go-to album or song that just lets you escape when you were younger? Or maybe even now to this day, do you have it possibly still?
Yeah, the song You by Candlebox.
So let's talk about horror just for a little bit, because I am a huge, huge horror fanatic. What's your favorite series possibly, if you have one maybe, or franchise?
Ooh, that's a hard one because I love so many.
See, me too.
Damn. I guess two that tie with me would be Child's Play and Candyman.
Oh, nice.
Candyman, I think, is very underrated, and I love it.
Yeah, I think Pumpkinhead is too.
Pumpkinhead is amazing. Pumpkinhead is just a great all-around. It's one of those things that are really underrated too. Like, I don't understand why that wasn't more loved. But honestly, I'm kind of glad, because all the stuff that's loved gets rebooted and they make it suck.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, Candyman and Child's Play I really like.
I will say this, though. I'm very excited to see what happens with these next two Halloween films that's getting ready to come out in the next couple of years, because John Carpenter's going to be part of it still again. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, they've got other people coming in from the old, original Halloween. So I'm very excited to see and curious what they do with this and how they maybe end it possibly. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's going to be very interesting.
Somebody did an interview. I don't know if it was the director or the producer, and I was skimming through Facebook one day, and he was talking about how he doesn't think Halloween will ever end because somebody else will pick it up and somebody else will pick it up. And I was like, that's the problem. Everybody else picked it up, and Carpenter wasn't part of it.
Right. And
I love the series, but Carpenter is Halloween, and Carpenter is one of the most amazing horror filmmakers ever. I mean, nobody talks about this vampire film, but John Carpenter's Vampires.
Oh, it's great.
It is amazing, and it never gets talked about. But as for Halloween, I mean, the original two, amazing. Actually, I liked a lot of the other ones too. I'm not downing those films, but him coming back and doing the new one was amazing, and I love the fact that it picked up. It brought back in, a lot of the original people. I love seeing Jamie coming back in and doing what she does, because she is an amazing actress. And I'm really happy to see it keep going, honestly. I'm glad it didn't stop at just one.
I'm the type of person that don't want to see Michael Myers riding around in a rascal trying to kill somebody.
Yeah, and that's where they have to really get to the point of like, okay, well, because this was cool. I mean, the reboots, continuations, I can live with. It's the remakes that I can't. And they didn't remake it, and they really handled this one really, really well.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it was a proper way to bring the slasher film back to the mainstream.
There was no lag in it, man. I mean, as soon as you got into the movie, I say 15 minutes into it, boom, it's happening. I mean, there was no lag with it.
Oh, yeah. And I love the fact that, because back in the 70s, they kind of had to, back off of some of the stuff that they couldn't show on film back then and stuff. And this one, they were just like, let's make it gory. Let's do some stuff that we wanted to do back then but couldn't. And I feel like they really hit the nail on the head with that one. They didn't disappoint at all to me. I've watched it probably about 15 times, and I still love watching the new Halloween. Of course, I love watching the original too. So
I love how people say, "Oh, it's getting close to Halloween." Well, no, for me, it's Halloween every day.
It is. I live it. I mean, my whole house is decorated and nothing but jack-o'-lanterns, and I got our band practice spot has got a big Ouija board backdrop, and there's jack-o'-lanterns everywhere and skeletons hanging up. And then my house itself, I mean, I have a very massive horror figure collection along with Halloween trinkets everywhere. So it's just bombarded with anything horror and Halloween related. Man, I live it every day. Here in Louisville, we're starting to get fall weather for some reason. At the end of August, it's been fall for the past week, and I've loved it. It smelled like fall. It smelled like Halloween. And in Louisville, we really blow up Halloween. Halloween usually starts from September 1st and ends the first week in November. So we have a good time here.
Poetry of the Dead and your solo stuff, when can we, realistically, when are you hopefully wanting to get this out, man? This year or maybe next year, or when?
Poetry, I definitely want out in 2020. The trilogy, it's just something that I'm not rushing. That one is very much a labor of love, and I'm going to have to, like, when we start recording the poetry album, I'm going to have to back off of the trilogy for a little bit to get the poetry album out. And then I'll go back to finishing it up. But I hope within 2020 we'll get the new poetry album out and my trilogy within the next 2 years.
How can folks stay in touch with you, buy merchandise, things like that, tour dates when you go on tour, all this good stuff about Jayson William Allen? How can he do that, man? You
can hit me up on my personal Facebook page. It's Jayson William Allen on Facebook. I'm a very nice guy. And and the Poetry of the Dead official Facebook page also. And then we have SoundCloud, Poetry of the Dead on Reverb Nation, and JWA TV on YouTube. And also you can always hit up ARC Music Group. They have everything on there and all the links and stuff.
Before I let you go, would you care to do a promo for my show?
I would love to. Okay. This is Jayson William Allen from Poetry of the Dead, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some awesome stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link, YouTube link, and soon our Twitch link. Also, it's very important that you get out and check out our YouTube page and subscribe to our YouTube page. Everything and anything that we do will be going up on the BODS YouTube page, and plus our podcast link as well. Also, get out and check out Jayson William Allen and all the stuff that he's done. He's got some great stuff out there on YouTube, plus his albums he's got out. So do not sleep on this guy, because he is absolutely awesome as a musician. So, Jayson, I wish you nothing but the best of luck from here on out, man.
You too, my friend, and thank you so much for having me. It was freaking awesome, and I loved every minute of it.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.